I've just spent a couple hours working on the wiring for the Asteroids Deluxe Cabaret here. Some other things I've done also. Thought I'd make a video. This was missing on my cabinet. It had the bottom rail that the PCB slides into, but it was missing the top one and also missing this. So I bought two of these full-length PCB supports used, and I nailed one up and verified that Asteroids or Asteroids Deluxe board slides in there just fine. So it's got tabs on the bottom and the top. The AR board slides into here, so what I need to do is take the other one I bought that's full length like this, cut it down so it's the same length as my other cabinet, pull these pieces of plastics and staples out, and do like I did here, which is mount it with a staple gun, new staples, so that the AR board goes there. This is how the Asteroids and Asteroids Deluxe, how they secured wires. Other cabs, eventually they went to this arrangement, which is a zip tie with a screw mount built into it. And this one actually, it's a bunch of wires back there so you can't really see it. There's a screw there, so this does, I take that screw out and put it like that, and it screws the coin door harness to the cabinet, which I haven't done because I might swap out the coin door if I decide to keep this cabinet. So I might put the coin door from my other one onto this. But yeah, so this is how they secured the wires. They just did this. They just chose one of their zip ties to leave full length, and then they used a staple gun and stapled the crap out of it to get it on the wall to add some support for the wires. So that's why you'll see some of these are a bit longer. This one here, this one I put on myself. This is the original staple for the game. There's also one up here, so I think the original one might have done that. So yeah, I reused this one, so it's holding the wires up so they're not straining because they connect to the monitor, so I don't want a bunch of strain on the cable. Over here, I bought some of the zip ties with the screw mounts, and I used one there. Next to it you can see the long cable. That's original because this wiring harness came out of an Asteroids upright, and I'm putting it in an Asteroids Deluxe Cabaret. So the lengths are slightly different between the two. So that's why the staples aren't really in the right place for this wiring harness. There's the interlock, which is mounted to the original screw holes. I didn't get a plastic cover with it, so there's a hole above and below it. That's for the plastic shield that's supposed to cover this up because this is your AC voltage coming into it. Back there, if you can see it, there's the second interlock. It pushes up against the coin meter when the door closes. On my other cab, I've actually loosened the screws and I've just got it hanging down so it doesn't turn the game off if I open the coin door. This one for now I put in the correct orientation, and again that's AC power that goes to the interlock. So if you open the coin door, it'll shut the power to the machine off. If you take the back door off, it'll shut power to the machine off. Also, for people who don't know, most interlocks, not all, I think some Bally games I've had, some Midway games, aren't the same, but there's actually, this is its standard position where if you close the door, you can hear it click. So when the door closes, it engages the wires and the AC flows. If you open the door, it cuts the power off at the interlock switch. You can pull the interlock switch out when you're working on it. So now if the door is off because you're working on it and you want to turn it on, it'll turn on now. So there's its natural position. So when the door is closed, power flows through door is open, it does not flow through, or if you're working on it, you can pull it all the way out and then the power does flow. So sometimes if you're really new to the hobby, you might get a game and it doesn't work and you can't figure out why. It might be because the back door is bowed to the point where it doesn't activate this switch. So one way you can test that is to just take the back door off, and if it's the type of switch that pulls out, see if your game turns on. It might be as simple as the door is bowed, and you either make a new door or loosen the screws, and you might be able to pull it a bit further out, or worst case, maybe even pull it out and drill some new holes, fill the ones there, and move them a little bit forward. Just a beginner tip. So, yes, as I was saying, this is an Asteroids upright wiring harness, and it's also bonus. I didn't realize this when I got it, and I say bonus being sarcastic because I don't know if I'd bought it if I had known it. It has a factory Atari adapter harness here. That's what this weird looking thing is. This is power that goes to the monitor. This is the signal that goes to the monitor. And this adapter harness is needed because this original harness was made for Asteroids, early Asteroids, that used the Electrohome Geo5 801 or 801 monitor. And it's different than the later Geo5 802 and the Wells Gardner V2000. So what this is a factory modification. So they must have had, when they quit using the Geo 1 monitors and went to the Geo 2 or the Wells Gardner V2000, which are pretty much interchangeable, the parts on those two, they have a different pinout. They have this pinout that has power and signal both in one plug to the monitor. So this factory harness takes the original harness that was set up for power plugging into the Geo5 801 monitor and the signal connector plugging into the Geo5 801 monitor, and it combines them into the single plug that the Geo5 802 and V2000 monitors use. So that's what that is. And if you have an early Asteroids that uses the monitor with this original setup, you'll need to buy or make one of these adapters to use the later monitor. An easy way to recognize the 801 original monitors, they were used in Lunar Lander and the early Asteroids cabinets, is that they have a couple really big filter caps on them. They look totally different. Also, they're only 19-inch, so here I'm showing this as if there was one in this cabinet. There never was a 14-inch, as far as I know, Geo5 801. They were only for the 19-inch full-size Lunar Lander and Asteroids cabinets. So that's what this is. This is a factory adapter. And why I said I might not have bought the wiring harness if I knew it had that, because maybe somebody with one of those monitors would have wanted this original wiring harness. And it just adds a little extra complexity to the setup. Instead of having all the wires in one bundle, now I've got one bundle that with the signal wires that comes off of the board connector, and then the power wires that come from over here. So it should be fine. There's also two different voltages that the Geo5 801 could run on, although from what I've read, nobody seems to have seen one that runs on the second voltage. Most of them just run on the same voltage, which is different than the 802, but evidently it's close enough. So that's what's going on there. This is a little bit shorter than I'd like, and again, which is weird because it comes from an upright and this is a Cabaret. But this, I'd rather went all the way down to the base of the cab and over, but it kind of is going to be in the air and just barely be long enough to go on the board. In fact, it might have to go like that so it'd be possibly touching the board a little bit. And I think that has to do more with maybe the coin door, because where the wires go to the coin door, the control panel connector looks like it's going to be a little bit short. I think it'll work fine. I mean, worst case, I have to make a little extension harness for it, but that's should be fine. These are the wires that go to the AR2 audio regulator board. Provides the audio and takes the power from the power block and turns it into the voltages used by the game board. And it goes up here, which is what this stapled zip tie originally held. Here's the one from the Asteroids harness that's still attached, which isn't probably going to work to put it in those holes, because this might, I'm not sure if this is going to be this orientation or this orientation. I haven't pulled the AR out of my game because I might be picking one up this weekend at the Northwest Pinball and Arcade Show in Tacoma, along with a monitor I'm supposed to be picking up for this. So thanks to my fellow collector friends for offering me those. So also slightly relevant is this is the speaker connector for Asteroids. It is 4 pins in a line. Asteroids Deluxe audio regulator board uses 4 pins in a square 2x2, 2/2 configuration. Plus the AR2 is slightly different between Asteroids and Asteroids Deluxe, so your sounds will not sound correct. They'll work, but they won't sound correct if you use an Asteroids audio regulator board with an Asteroids Deluxe board, or if you use the Asteroids Deluxe audio regulator with an Asteroids PCB. Something to note. My other game is running an Asteroids AR2 and an Asteroids PCB, and I've made an adapter harness because there are some differences in the wiring for the controls and the coin inputs. But I have the multi-kit on my other machine, which runs Asteroids, Asteroids Deluxe, and Lunar Lander. And the best one of those multi-kits is the one that you add to an Asteroids board, not the one you add to an Asteroids Deluxe board, because the Asteroid board, its sounds are produced analog on the PCB, and the Asteroids Deluxe uses a pokey chip. So if you have an Asteroids board, you put the multi-kit onto it and you add a pokey, and so the Asteroids sounds come off the Asteroids hardware and sound just right, and then it uses the pokey for the multi-kit to make the Asteroids Deluxe sounds sound just right. Whereas if you put the multi-kit on an Asteroids Deluxe board, it's emulating basically the analog audio of Asteroids when you play Asteroids on it. I haven't listened to one, so I don't know how close it is, but I just figured when I built my other cabinet that I'd get the Asteroids version. And for this cab, I have a spare Asteroids PCB with the high score save kit on it, so that's what I was going to put in here, which is pretty much why I went with an Asteroids harness instead of an Asteroids Deluxe harness. And again, I think I might keep this cabinet, move the monitor from my other cab, the coin door from my other cab, the PCB from my other cab into this, and then sell my other cabinet because it's got an Asteroids Deluxe power brick, Asteroids Deluxe Cabaret wiring harness, and adapter to run an Asteroids board. So I think I might end up doing that, but I'm not sure yet. So I think that's all I've got to say about the wiring. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, so an Asteroids upright has the marquee light at the top of the game that lights up, says Asteroids, and the speaker is also up in that area. So an upright Asteroids has this 5-wire connector that has black, green, and white. That's the AC for the fluorescent light at the top of the cabinet, and a brown and a white with brown stripe wire for the speaker. So this 5-pin connector stops about here in an Asteroids upright cab, and then there's a piece that plugs into it that goes all the way to the top to the marquee and speaker panel. So what I've done here, again, I don't like modifying this original harness, so I have a 5-pin connector that I've then wired my own 3 wires for the fluorescent light, which in this game is right behind here, and then 2 speaker wires also come out of here. So they loop down here, and then the AC plugs into the ballast for the fluorescent light right about here, and the speaker wires go up the side of the cabinet and go to the speaker right there. So I did that without altering the original harness, just by adding an extension in. Down at the bottom, we have your power brick connectors. There's grounds. There's 6-pin connector, which is the interlock. This goes to the power switch and the 2 interlocks. So you get power. This 3-pin connector is the one that I was talking about that goes up to the marquee panel to light that fluorescent light. And then there's this connector, which also has differences between Asteroids and Asteroids Deluxe in how it pulls power, but I won't go into that right now. So yeah, that's what I've done. So like I said, I've got this here, so the AR board goes in here. I need to pull these little plastic pieces out, pull the staples out, and then cut the other one of these I have to the proper length and put it in there and staple it in for the AR board. And then, we can get up and go around to the speaker. I put the speaker in. I ordered one that was shielded, which was dumb, because if you kind of sight down here, you can kind of see that now if you want to pull this panel that has the fluorescent light out, which is just attached by a couple thumb screws to this piece of wood, it's too big, I think, to come up and out of the cabinet. But you wouldn't really need to work on it for anything other than if the ballast went bad. You can get through the coin door to replace the starter. You should be able to get through the coin door or down here to replace the bulb. But it's just something that, it was just a dumb mistake. I didn't think about it. My other one does not have shielded speaker, and I didn't think that this one probably wouldn't need it either, so I went ahead and ordered this one. So the other one is I don't know, an inch maybe shorter. I was remembering my original one, which is down there, is the cone is completely toast on that one. So there's the other thing I did. There is a Phoenix Arcade reproduction Asteroids Deluxe Cabaret marquee panel. Now I'll go ahead and say this. It is not perfect. The big problem right here, you can see this. You can see some white around this corner, down here, and then it eventually fades out. The screen printing of the artwork was not registered correctly when this was printed. Basically, they do the art first, I think, and then they do the white masking that's on the back of this. And what happened is, it looks like when they did the artwork, it was tilted like this. So the black, you can see there's artwork, and then there's a black border all the way around the bottom. The black border didn't get printed all the way to the bottom of the plexiglass. So then they did the white artwork last, and so you can see the white artwork because the black artwork isn't down where it should be. The only way I could fix that is to gently sand off the white masking and then either put it back on because it's black wood behind that, or do some touch-up black down there on the bottom and put it back. And I didn't want to do either of those options. I didn't want to mess it up. And I didn't feel like emailing Phoenix Arcade and saying, hey, do you have a better one? Because this one is not 100% perfect. So I'm sure if I did, they probably would have taken care of me, but I think it's fine. And like I said, I might be keeping this cabinet so I'm not too stressed out about it. One thing I chose to do is not use rivets. These are originally put in with black rivets. I use socket cap screws, which a lot of people do because rivets suck, basically. I did buy some rivets, so if I change my mind, I can put them in, but I had to drill the rivets out to get this out, which kind of enlarges the holes, which makes new rivets won't fit in properly unless you fill the hole and re-drill it. So I just decided to go with these. I had to get 2-inch long bolts. I had to get those online because I didn't have them at my hardware store. And the reason I had to go 2-inch after I had bought 1-inch is because I forgot there's these. I don't know why these are here, but you've got these blocks of wood, one above the marquee, one below the marquee. So you've got 3/4 inch plywood, and then I drilled through these to come out the other end. So I got 2-inch long anodized black 1024 socket cap or button head, they're called both things, screws, and then I've got a washer and a kept nut to hold it in place, which I didn't want to don't crank down on it really hard because you'll distort the plastic or possibly crack the plastic. So they're on there to the point where they're not going to come loose, but they're not warping the plastic. I've also started working on the bezel. So I cheaped out and bought the cardboard that is not black all the way through, and so when bending it, you can see here you don't see white because I cut a relief in the back that goes through just like half of the paper and then folded it over so the black shows here. But this one I cut on this side and folded it so you can see some white. So I think what I'll do is just get a paintbrush and some flat black paint and cover that up. I also haven't glued the bottom piece in. Sorry about the light. I have glued the side panels and the top panel together, but I want to get the monitor in before I glue this bottom piece because there is some adjustment I can do on how far away these side pieces are and how high up this piece is. So yeah, I kind of wanted to get the monitor in there before I messed with that. Not sure if I showed my last video either. This was the last piece of wood that I needed to do. This is, no, I can't remember. I think it's 1/2 inch thick, or 1/2 inch deep and inch high, and I think it's about 17 inches wide. And I have glued it and also used an electric brad nailer to put 6 nails in there to hold it in place. And basically all it really does is it kind of holds this monitor cardboard. The plastic marquee, I already went through that before, gets held in the cutouts down here on either side. That's what the plexiglass sits on, so it doesn't really need this to sit on, but this is at the exact same height as that. So I put the piece of plexiglass in, I held the glued piece of wood up to where it should be, and then put a nail in it, and then one on the other side to make sure that it's level with the plexiglass. But it's really, I think, just a support basically for this cardboard bezel. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. I've currently got this one opened up because I was working on it. One thing I didn't do on this one right here, as I was saying, this long zip tie is here, and On this cabinet, there's a, if you can see it, a staple right there, but this doesn't work there. So what I really should do is put another zip tie and put it through that staple there to kind of get that out of the way, but I've always just left it hanging. Haven't had a problem with it. And there you can see my adapter in this one for using an Asteroids board with an Asteroids Deluxe harness. As I said, some of the controls and the, I think, coin inputs, if I remember right, are swapped between Asteroids and Asteroids Deluxe, so you need to use an adapter. This is only for, there are adapters you can buy that have circuitry on them, and I believe that those are also for use if you're using an Asteroids PCB with an Asteroids Deluxe audio regulator, I think. Because I found on mine all I needed to do was switch the inputs and everything else was okay, other than, like I was talking about on the other machine, Asteroids audio regulator board has 4 pins in a straight line for the speaker connection, even though it only uses 2 of the wires. Asteroids Deluxe uses a square 2 pins over 2 pin arrangement for the speaker wire, so I just made a short adapter from the Asteroids Deluxe Cabaret harness here to the Asteroids AR, so I'm not altering the original wire harness or the original AR2 board, just made a short adapter to make that work. And you can also see slightly different over here. Here you've got the staples I was talking about holding this wire. So you've got this wire coming from the power brick. Or is it coming from the on-off switch? I think it goes from the power brick to the on-off switch. And then it comes up here. And then these wires, 3-pin connector, go to the front to the fluorescent light. And then again up here, another strain relief. Here you can see the original one that was cut by somebody, and I just added a new one below it. And here you can see this is the connector coming off of this monitor, which I'd have to look at the, I think it's the Electro Home. Yeah, that's Electro Home sticker. But as I said, the Electro Home G05802 and the Wells Gardner V2000 black and white vector monitors, they're pretty much the exact same parts wise. So you can use the deflection board from one on the other, and you can use the high voltage from one on the other. So yeah, I guess that's all I really need to go into on that. There's the speaker that I have in this one, which is not shielded, so it doesn't stick out as far, and then the ugly metal plate there that I put in, and I put a piece of wood across the top that the speaker is screwed into because the front of this panel was smashed in, and you can see cracks there and up there on that support piece because the front panel was kicked in to the point where it even broke those. But it is structurally sound now with my gluing back together and adding those supports. Supports were probably overkill, but I wanted to make sure that it was structurally sound. And so this is my cabinet that I've had for years now, and has the multi-kit installed on the PCB, which is probably too dark to see any of, but it plays Asteroids, Asteroids Deluxe, and Lunar Lander. Okay, so that's it for this video. Still to do over here. As I said, I need to mount the AR board, which hopefully I will be getting this weekend, and make sure the wires go to it. I need to get a power brick, which I'm not sure if I'm going to get this weekend or not. Get a monitor, which I should be getting this weekend. And, oh, my power cord. the end of it that plugs into the power strip is got the ground plug snapped off. So I can't decide if I'm going to buy a replacement power cord or just cut the end off and wire on a hardware store end piece. Either way, you're altering the game so it's not original anymore, because but it'll look more original with just a replacement power cord. But then I have to take it out of the metal. There you go. Take it out of the grommet, try and get one that's the same size so it fits back in the grommet. You can see that ground plug is just janky. It's been cut at an angle. It's still toned out, but I think it was a bit intermittent, so I think it's almost ready to not work. And then there's the cord's starting to, outer rubber casing, come out. So, and it was soldered to the power switch, but that's just a matter of taking those two wires and this wire, cutting those, putting crimp connectors and a 3-pin Molex that will plug into the power brick. So yeah, haven't I guess quite decided whether to just get a new cord or just cut a new end for that and put a new end on this end. So that's about it. Amazing how many hours, how much time it takes routing these wires, figuring out what's in the cab, what's not in the cab, what should go where, and making the adapter harnesses and cables and what have you. But yeah, it's getting very close now to being a working game.